Welcome back to the Kitchen Chefs. Today we are cooking it up with Boomer Bait from Multiply Media. We're going to be talking about a whole lot of different topics, including how to use MusicBed more efficiently for your edits, the scientific reason why audio is more important than visuals, and how to become more creative, along with a plethora of other things. If you don't know who Multiply Media is, you need to pause this podcast right now, go visit their website, and get their film score pack. This is something that we at Runaway Vows, we use it almost daily, and it is an absolute lifesaver. And Boomer, as he mentions in this podcast, he just decided in the moment that he was going to offer a 25% discount to anyone listening. So if you want to get 25% off the film score pack at Multiply Media, just enter the code Runaway25. But without further ado, let's cook.
Living in a daydream, ooh, such a sweet thing. Life on the big screen, it's such a beautiful scene, yeah.
All right, Boomer, what is your opinion on trending audio? Do you think it's killing creativity, or do you think it's helping people foster their creativity?
Wow, I love it. We're getting right into it.
Hopping right into it.
Let's see. I get it, right? Like Instagram and TikTok is a game, and you like have to play the game. Like it's important to play the game, and there is almost like a social authority when you see followers, you know, on an Instagram page or a TikTok page, whatever, and that's important. You know, I hate it, but it is important. But I would say, like, if you want to grow more as an artist and in your creativity, and if you know, like really want to stand out, it's, I don't know, I would probably say it's not the best thing in that regard. I don't know. What would you say? I don't know if I have like a clear black or white take. It's more just gray, you know?
No, I totally agree. And I'm kind of like tired myself because Instagram, TikTok, even YouTube, they're all kind of like updating their policies and everything, their algorithms constantly. And so the second you feel like, oh, trending audio is the thing to get followers, and that's another topic, like, do followers matter? The CEO of Instagram himself says, yes, they do matter. But,
sure.
You know, in our industry, people are like, no, you don't need followers. And we've said that before, but you know, it's just like always changing. So in the matter of trending audio, I feel like for a time it kind of mattered, but now it just seems like it's almost killing people's creativity. From my point of view, you just go on Instagram, you go on the reels, and you see some beautiful cinematic reel with this track, and let's say it's like of New York City, you know,
right,
the hustle bustle city vibe, and then you just see this reel with this sound, and you think, oh, I have to go capture that. Let me go downtown to my city and get kind of like that same thing. When in reality, that sound could probably be used with so many different things. So I don't know. I'm kind of a toss-up as well, but it does help people just get out and shoot because it can inspire them.
Totally. I also think it like devalues the original art form that it was designed for. I mean, Interstellar is one of my favorite movies ever, and I love that soundtrack. Hans Zimmer is like one of my heroes, but I just hear that you know, like all the time now, like every time I'm scrolling, and I'm like, that's not what it was for, you know. Right. That piece of art was for these visuals, you know, for space and the time, you know. And also Dune, like I keep hearing that sound and that music all the time, and it's just, I don't know. I'm not saying it's bad. I think it just sometimes devalues the art a little bit.
Yeah.
But I also think you can remix, you know, you can isolate vocals. You can use trending songs but like in your own way, you know? So I don't know. It's a toss up for me.
That's actually really interesting. So have you ever watched kind of the BTS of Interstellar? Have you ever seen that on YouTube?
Yeah, I've watched everything that there is to know about Interstellar.
Dude, so my wife, bless her heart, love her to death, she is not in the movie scene. And so when she married me, and I'm like, Interstellar, babe, like, we gotta watch Interstellar, She, for some reason, just hates space movies, and it hurt my soul.
Yeah.
So I like had to sit her down and say, okay, we're watching Interstellar. And it never really stuck. I watched it
Yeah.
enough. It was kind of like brute force where she eventually came to like it. But it wasn't until I pulled up the YouTube and I showed her the BTS of Hans Zimmer doing the music for the movie. And it's so cool because he said,
Yeah.
I wanted this organ because I was picturing space, and it was just kind of like the emptiness. And it was just
Yeah.
watching the person they hired. I think it was in England or Ireland, but some
Yeah.
some guy, and he was just a monster, just so
Yep.
good at the organ. And it makes you feel that. Same thing with Dune. I don't know what it was, but that opening scene where the Harkonnens, they start floating and they start climbing up the cliff, and there's just that deep durr, you know.
Yep.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that music
He's a
was
genius.
meant for that. It's not meant for some reel of, you're at your desk working. you know.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like a bad thing, right?
No.
But I don't know. Just when you're scrolling, you meant like pulling up reels and you're just seeing the exact same sounds.
Yeah.
You know, you're seeing even the same songs too. You know, I have heard "Beautiful Things," that song by whatever his name
Benson
is.
Boone.
These beautiful things. Yeah, like 10,000 times. It's just like, geez, dude, just find something else. You know, if you're trying to stand out, you know, and be unique, it's probably not the best route. You know what I mean?
Well, from an artist's point of view, because your background is in music, right? You just said that today you were in the studio, weren't you?
Yeah, yesterday.
For
yeah.
the film score pack?
Film Score 2, baby. Let's go.
Ooh, when does that come out?
This summer. I mean, honestly, I don't have a date like as long as it takes. I
just wanna make sure it's good.
we can get into that. Yeah, 100%.
Well, yeah, the trending audio. So from the, I guess, our point of view as videographers, but also from an artist point of view. For example, I have nothing against this guy. I think he creates good music, but Jake, JVKE, to
Yep.
see you shine. You know that song?
Yes, dude. Yeah.
I feel like that song got so popular, and then he started making music just so it was popular on social media, and they all kind of like sound the same.
Right.
So like
Yeah.
from an artist point of view, I feel like it does kind of kill creativity as well.
Right. Yeah. So, what's his face? Rick Rubin. He's this incredible engineer, producer. He talks about the audience being last. You have to think about the audience last, right? So if you're making a truest form of art, the audience has to be the last thought in your head. I agree with that mostly, I would say. If for whatever reason, if your truest form of art has to be protected, you can't be creating out of a fear of what people think, and so, but also you can also play the game, you can hold both, right? And that's where maybe I kind of disagree with him, because there's things that I do for the algorithm all the time. There's things that there's trending audios that I use to grow, but then I also have to hold a reality where there are certain parts of my creativity where I have to hold so close, and I can't think about an algorithm. I can't think about how much something is going to cost. I can't think about an audience or what people are going to think of it. So it's like those two, right?
Yeah. No, I totally get that. It just depends on your goal. If you're trying to grow, if you're trying to make money or get leads from Instagram, you kind of do need a decent amount of followers sometimes. And so, you should focus on growing and then monetizing. And sometimes the best way to grow is to just do what everyone else is doing that's popping off. Find a trending audio before it's gone absolutely huge. Find that and then use it and be on the ground floor. But I'd love that you bring up Rick Rubin. Have you listened or read to his book, The Creative Act, by chance?
I haven't read it. It is definitely on the list, but I've listened to pretty much every podcast under the sun with that dude.
That guy is just a genius, and he just challenges everything you thought you knew was correct. At some point during that book, he said, "I've been in the studio with countless artists. We've produced, so this amount of, platinum labels, and I have never, ever, now I don't know if this is true, but he said, I have never polished the final song with headphones on. It's always just through the speakers. And he's like, because like people aren't going to be listening and like, you know, have these really fancy headphones and listening to every tiny little detail. And he's like, the true experience of listening to the music is just through your computer speakers or, you know, just through your phone. So he's like, I always edit without these like headphones. Again, I don't know if that's true. I'm sure he has his way, but I was like, that's so weird. Because I remember being in college and I didn't have a fancy setup and I was always just ridiculed for just like listening to my computer and like trying to do sound through it. And it's just like, no, you need these and you need that.
Right.
That was hilarious.
I mean, at the end of the day, gear doesn't really matter too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think I am the opposite of a gear junkie. So that's kind of where I'm leaning from of like what the art sounds like on whatever speaker there is. But at the same time, it is kind of annoying. You know, you spend so much time and effort, you know, making something beautiful and perfecting it, you know, on the speakers or headphones that you want someone to hear it on, and they listen to it on, you know, the shitty iPhone speakers or whatever.
It hurts. It stings.
Yeah, it does hurt. But at the same time, it's like, he probably is right. You know, that's how most people experience music and video, you know, how Instagram just compresses, you know, everything after you spend so much time in 4K. You're like, why?
I'm assuming it's the same for audio as well, right? You spend all this time
for sure.
and then it comes to the phone and you're like, gosh dang it, Instagram.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird these days.
Well, yeah, Rick Rubin, I love that guy. I love that you brought him up. I did want to ask you
Shout
a question.
out.
I have two things in life that I wish I could do, but I can't do. At least I'm not very good at them. One, I always wish I could draw. Like, I wish I was just an artist. I was really impressed and just jealous of people in middle school, and they could just pull out their notebook and just sketch out the coolest little doodles. And I always tried, and I never could. And then the other thing is making music. Okay. In my final year of college, I lived with some party roommates. Loved those guys to death. And they bought, like, I don't even know if it's the right terminology, just like a little mixing board, like for sounds and like synth and beats and things like that. And they didn't know anything about it, but they kind of had that musical gift. And so every night there's like some party going on. And my buddy named Nick and Tyler, they would just like start blasting music and then trying to like make a mix, like some synth house. And they kind of sucked at first. They sucked. But after like a month or two, they had some pretty decent stuff. And I was like, man, I'm so jealous. I don't know the first thing about music. Nothing. But I love the idea of being able to create my own music for my videos, whether they're weddings, whether they were like a personal YouTube or like a vlog or whatever. What would be your advice to somebody who wants to create their own music, but they don't really know that much? Do they need to know that much?
Yeah. No, I don't think people need to know that much, because I think I would argue that you do know a lot about music, right? Maybe not the specific language of music or how to talk or terminology or theory, but the more I learn about the filmmaking world, because this is kind of my second world, right? Music is really my first world, but I would say that filmmakers have incredible musical intuition. I would say that everyone probably has an amazing musical intuition, because it is woven into kind of the fabric of who we are and how we experience the world. Like, you can't deny how powerful music is and its impact on people, you know, and the scientific like implications of what music does to us as humans, right? And so I would first say that you do have probably a really good musical intuition, and you know what sounds good and you know what doesn't sound good, right? Even Rick Rubin will always say, I don't know the first thing that there is to know about music. I can barely play an instrument. I can barely produce. But what does he have that, you know, most people, what has he claimed, I guess? What is taste? He has really good taste. You hear him talking about that a lot. And I would say that, like any muscle, you can learn and exercise your ears, right? We exercise our eyes constantly through visuals, and it's actually really easy to exercise what we see all the time. Even when we're editing, it's just like we're scrolling through B-roll. Music takes an extra step of the unconscious of not using our visuals to actually listen to something, and that takes discipline. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, yeah. I'm just.
You can't see a sound effect.
Yeah,
you can't see music.
You changed my way of thinking. Yeah.
So I think it is a muscle, right? And then we can talk about the language of music and just how we've mastered. Everyone has mastered one language, at least one, English. Like I can look at this and not even think, oh, it's a phone,
Yeah.
I don't have to think or try to figure out how to put sentences together. I've done the work to know this language, and I know that there's 26 letters in the alphabet. Wait, is there 24 or 26?
I think there's 26.
Oh, damn. 26, 26.
Yeah, you're right.
Didn't go to college. Never mind. Now we know that there's 12 letters in the alphabet for music, right? And so once you understand the basics, which pretty much takes like 30 minutes to understand the basics, it's like a superpower, right? Like whatever you want to do, you can accomplish. You don't need to just pick a song off MusicBed or whatever music licensing website you're using and fit your story into this 3-minute and 17-second song. You can shape your story around the song and not the other way around. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes too much sense to me. No, that's a great point. Yeah, no, keep going.
Yeah, so I would probably say it's possible to create. Your question was, can you create your own music in your films? I would say that it's possible. I would say that that's like expert mode,
Okay.
and there's some probably steps that you can take to get there. I wouldn't say to start there.
Yeah.
I would say that you can start by taking licensed songs and not taking them for face value, and mixing them up, understanding phrases, understanding melodies, understanding choruses, verses, bridges, and mixing them around and how to do that. And then, shout out Film Score Pack, maybe that would be next step of using, maybe not even the Film Score Pack, but ambient music, key matching songs, understanding what keys work with what, that would probably be the next step. And then the next step after that would probably be, producing music and also making music with the Film Score Pack, a sound pack in all 12 keys, in your video editing software, not like a music editing software, if that makes sense.
Well, no, I'm
so
glad
yes, it's possible.
I'm glad you shouted out the Film Score Pack, because if you didn't, I was going to. Again,
Heck yeah.
I have no training in music at all, but both Jake and myself, I mean, at Runaway Vows, most people know in our community, we do have a sound effects pack. It's a pretty basic intermediate pack, and we needed something a little more. So that's where we went to you guys, and I've actually been using your Film Score Pack almost just religiously. So
that's awesome.
I kind of started with, finding MusicBed songs and searching by key, and then I'll find the key, and then some kind of mix of Audition, kind of like remixing the song down to a certain length that I need. And then I'll just use like a riser or some melodic train or something just in that same key to kind of transition to something. That was kind of like my first step. And I was just like,
that's
I think
awesome.
that works. I don't know though. So
yeah. I mean, that's awesome. I mean, the fact that we can even do that is so cool. Yeah, so I mean, this is not like a sound effects pack, like noise, essentially, that can fit in with kind of any song. This is musical and tonal sound effects in all 12 keys that you can match your key to whatever licensed song, if you know the key to your song. And that is, I mean, that's so cool. That to me, that is really, really dope that filmmakers can edit music in their video editing software.
You feel like a wizard. Like when you piece it together, you're just like, this is the coolest thing I think I've ever done. I'm in the flow zone. I can be here for another 4 hours, and the sun's gonna start coming up here soon. I love that.
It's amazing.
Like when I first found your film score pack, and I started testing it, I was like, this is. I was just playing around with it for like 3 hours. Super awesome,
dude.
pack.
That's awesome, man. I'm glad. I'm glad.
And then this was my next step. I did come across. It's funny, I'm actually bringing this up too, because I just right before this podcast was on Instagram and I saw one of your ads, and it was like you.
That's amazing.
It was in my stories, and it was like broken up into 3 like 45 second sessions, and it was taking a song from MusicBed, finding the key, and then using Lala.ai. So
yes, AI
has come a long ways. I came across Lala probably like 6 months ago ish. The only problem I'm having now though is if I find a song that I like, and I like either the instrument track or the vocal track, I don't know how to find the key of it. So like, let's say I go out and find like Mr. Brightside by the Killers. I want to use, let's say, that instrument track with a different vocal of another song. Is there some other like software or website that tells you the key of any song that would make my life easier?
AutoKey.
It's an app?
Yep. It's a free app. It's kind of like
way.
Shazam. It just listens to the song and it tells you pretty quickly.
I am
there you
writing
go.
that down. AutoKey. It's a free app.
Or Google. Don't underestimate Google. If you just Google what is the key to Mr. Brightside, it'll come up.
Yeah, I did try that. So like with big songs, but like if it's like some kind of like up and coming song or kind of
sure,
I don't know, not well known artists, it kind of turns into digging around sometimes, and they just come up with these spammy looking websites, and I'm like, I don't know if this is true or not. So
yeah.
Okay, AutoKey. That's great.
Yeah, super easy.
Love it.
It's an app. Yeah.
Okay, let me tell you about my next step of my own kind of like teaching myself, trying to mix songs together.
I'm ready. Let's do it, man. This is exciting.
Please tell me if I am off, that like if I am completely missing the mark, because this is something that has helped me, and I've like taught other people, including people in our coaching program. But like full disclosure, I was like, guys, I have no training in music. This could be wrong. It's just helped me, and it sounds decent. So I came across this thing called the Circle of Fifths.
Yep.
Okay, am I right?
Awesome.
Is that a thing?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what the Circle of Fifths is, like, I can't say it off the top of my head because I don't have that memorized, but you look at it, it's a visual, and you can see it's like, okay, there's a C sharp, and again, I probably don't even know the right keys here, but it's like there's a C sharp, and then surrounding it are 5 other keys that are touching it, right?
Sure.
Okay, now this is where you're probably gonna have to correct me here.
Okay.
And so those keys around it that are bordering it, those are called, I think, like diatonic chords or keys. And you use those to build a progression. So like, let's say your song that you found on MusicBed was a C sharp, and I'm just making up keys here, or notes. I don't even know the difference.
Okay.
But let's say on this Circle of Fifths, D is one of the keys that is bordering the C sharp. So if I have a song that's C sharp in MusicBed, and I want to progress to a different song, I have to go using, like, I can use a song that's in a D because it'll kind of naturally progress and it'll sound okay. Whereas if I did a C sharp song and I tried to go straight into like a G, and that was not bordering it on the Circle of Fifths, it would sound jarring. Is that even close to being right?
Absolutely. That's that's very correct. Let me take one step back, because when you start talking about Circle of Fifths, that can get maybe a little bit confusing. Yeah. I would say biggest piece of advice, if that just overwhelms you, just key match. Honestly, like just so keep if your song, keep it in the same key. I mean, honestly, I do that, 80% of the time.
Really?
Because I think, well, what is the thing where paradox of choice? That's what it's called.
Okay.
So I think there's tens of thousands of songs on MusicBed. Do you use MusicBed?
Yeah, I use MusicBed.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. if you have a song that's like a home run song, it's your first song or whatever song you find, and this is exactly what I do. I just hit the key, right, of that song. It takes Music Bed from tens of thousands of songs to maybe 1,000 songs, right? And then you can hit, maybe cinematic or ambient, or takes it down even more, that is, people spend hours and days on, these music licensing websites. I don't think that's a flex anymore. Honestly, people say like, oh, I spend days, weeks. No, dude, you should not be spending that long of time, because if you actually knew how to implement the paradox of choice into and key match, and even understanding circle of fifths stuff, it won't take you that long to find a really good song. So I hit the same key and then boom, there's tons of songs that will fit, that will pretty much, you will know that will work in your film. Like your film will flow flawlessly.
Yeah.
So what you're talking about is notes that are right next to each other in conjunction to the circle of fifths. So I have my little piano here.
Oh, let's go.
Let's freaking go, dude.
Let's go.
Okay, so let's say we're talking in C, right? The note that is closest to C is F, right?
Okay.
So like you were saying, you could absolutely use, if your first song's in C and you want to transition to F, that it's going to be perfect. It's going to sound awesome. What does this sound like to you?
Oh, Christmas tree. Oh, Christmas tree. Is that it?
That too. I heard.
Here comes the bride. I don't know.
Here comes the bride.
Okay, I heard it.
Right,
Christmas tree. Okay.
Or that, So basically what I'm saying is if you transition from a fourth, that's called a perfect fourth, you're kind of subconsciously saying that the bride is coming, know?
Yeah.
So that's a really cool way. The second note that is right next to C, it would be G. Right? Those two sound really good. They're called fifths. And what does this sound like to you?
Oh boy. Wait, do it again. I kind of lost the Zoom audio for a sec.
Twinkle, twinkle.
Okay, yeah, twinkle.
Right?
Yeah, okay.
It's a very like ethereal type of, very like dreamy or space kind of. That's kind of what you're conveying when you transition from a 1 to a 5. Again, this might be pretty tough without like the actual circle fifths, visual. But yeah. If this is overwhelming you, just forget what I said and just key match. You know what I mean?
Match it. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll go 99% of the way there.
Exactly.
I think, the only reason I came across the circle of fifths in the first place is because I found 2 songs on Music Bed, and I don't remember the keys, but one was one key, and the other song was a completely different key. And I'm like, do these even match? Is this even going to work?
Yeah.
Most people wouldn't even notice that, and they would just, toss it in there. And me and Jake, we like to make sure things are done well, and we're kind of technical about some things, and that's just one of those things I wanted to make sure sounded good. Especially, as you probably know, being in like an educator spotlight, you kind of got to do things like perfect, because if we do something and someone's an expert in that, they're like, your credibility's out the window. You didn't know about the transitions.
Actually, I would never say that. There's some keys that don't even make sense, and I just fade to silence and fade in another song. Like, if the music works, like the music works,
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
Yeah,
I think that's
I
how
definitely
I
wouldn't call anyone out.
Yeah, I do that. Like if it's a long enough pause, like let's say there's some vowels and I don't want any music.
Right.
I don't really care about the transition of the keys of the songs, because it goes to just dips to no audio, and then it's just kind of like raw motion, and then another song kicks in. It's like, yeah, totally fine. But if it's like a really quick transition, I wanted to make sure it sounded good, and that's where I came across
they're overlapping totally.
Yeah, so that was the only way I came across it, and I'm like, is this even a thing? But it's worked out pretty well whenever I've needed it so far. But yeah, if this is really This is like, I would say, gearing more towards advanced making your own music.
Totally.
For most people listening to this, just key match, use the search by key feature in MusicBed or
Yeah.
Soundstripe, whatever you use, and you're gonna get like 99% of the way there. And you
I
can
agree.
hone it in later if you want.
I agree.
Well, yeah, that was the hot take section. Isn't supposed to be until the very end of this, but you kind of give us a little preface there with you're spending way too much time. It's not a flex. Get off here, dude. Get off MusicBed.
Yeah, kind of.
We'll take
I
that as
got
the
another
first
one
hot
for you
take.
when you're ready.
I'm not quite ready yet. I got to warm up for that.
All right,
'cause
yeah.
that one, I didn't see that first one coming, so I got
you.
I got to recover. But
I listen to The Kitchen. You guys are a little spicy, you know? It's funny
Yeah.
because I'm mostly like kind of a gray person. I see both sides all the time.
Yeah.
But when you reached out, I was like, man, I think I got to turn it up. You know, I
Dude.
got to call some people out here.
turn up yeah, dude, I cannot wait. It's funny because when we first started this podcast, we most of what we did were just the Written by You series, and we did not expect the amount of cocaine stories that people submitted. Apparently cocaine is like weddings, and cocaine is like peanut butter and jelly somehow. It's just like all these people are telling us all these cocaine stories. We don't know the first thing about cocaine, and so we're just like two idiots trying to talk about our commentary. So it's like,
That's amazing.
all right, we gotta,
Have you never run into that?
We've never run into cocaine at a wedding, not that we know about. No,
Yeah.
not that we know about. Have you?
I put a
cocaine
mic
stories?
in a groom's. I put a mic in a groom's pocket, and I felt something.
You're
That was-
kidding me.
And we looked at each other. We had this moment, and he was like, "Let's just pretend that didn't happen." I was like, "You got it."
Oh my gosh. Oh, just a moment of understanding. You're like, yeah,
Yeah.
didn't happen.
Yeah.
Oh my
I forgot
goodness.
it already.
That's hilarious. Okay, in preparation for this episode, I was going through your guys' site, and you said something really interesting, I thought, and you talked about being bored, right? I see you as a very creative person, and the way we kind of
Yeah.
frame, we're never bored nowadays because we have our phones, right?
Yep.
Why is being bored so important to you?
Oh man, I could talk about this forever. You
do it.
just opened
can of
Pandora's
worms.
box right here. Man, I think boredom is so important. You know, I think busyness is one of the most evil things in this life, to be honest. I also don't think it's a flex when people are like, I'm so busy, bro. You know,
Yeah, same.
I'm like, I feel sad for you, you know. It's kind of the tale of the time. You know, people would rather talk than listen. People would rather fill their day with noise and move than be still. You know, people would rather just, you know, scroll on their phone than just sit in silence. And I was bored as a kid, and it was one of the best memories of just not knowing what to do and sitting in my room. And, you know, we didn't grow up with TV. And what my parents did was they gave me and my brother a video camera. And so we had to make like our own TV, you know. That was the only way for us to sit in front of a screen, is to make something. And that's what we were able to watch, I guess, on the computer. And so, yeah, it's really, really important to make space for being bored. We just made a huge move in our lives. We moved from Denver, Colorado, which I've lived there my whole life, to the middle of nowhere, Manzanita, Oregon, on the coast. Didn't really know anyone here. A town of 600 people. The average age is 65 years old.
Wow.
We're a 10-minute walk from the beach. I'm on the beach every day.
Why did you decide to move there?
It was getting too loud in
Really?
Denver, honestly, and I missed being bored. There's a bunch of reasons why, but really, like, there's some serious art in me and my wife Sarah. She's an incredible painter, and it's really important for us. Like, if we weren't able to get out what we want to create, it would just eat us alive, you know. It was just like something was like drawing me, something was calling me towards towards the coast and towards quiet, you know. And yeah, I think making space to be bored. I missed being bored is really the answer. You know, I think distraction is the death of art, but boredom is the birthplace of it. You know, the move was about just like crafting the type of art that we wanted to create and the voice that is constantly whispering in our ears of beautiful things to make. And that's what, you know, Sarah and I desperately wanted to make space for.
Dude, I love it. I remember when you guys announced you were moving, because we had never, I mean, I knew of you guys before you moved to, you said it was Oregon, right?
Yeah.
What was the name of the city?
Manzanita.
Manzanita?
It's like, do you know where Cannon Beach is?
Yeah, love Cannon Beach.
20 minutes south. So
Okay.
we get the same beauty, but less tourists.
Yeah, I love it. And so I remember when you guys made that move, you guys made a video announcing that you were moving. I don't remember if it was a YouTube video or if it was just Instagram, but
Yep.
blew up. I loved that video. That was like moving.
Thanks,
that was
dude.
touching. I loved that. I was like, Boomer and Sarah. I don't even know these guys yet, but they're sick. I like what they're doing. I'm like, oh, they're Multiply Media. I get it. Okay, I know. Who it is
Nice,
now.
dude.
Well,
Heck
no,
yeah.
I totally agree with that. And yeah, sometimes me and Jake, we have our clashes and our disagreements. Google Maps versus Apple Maps. We're talking,
Sure,
is Chick-fil-A superior? You know,
Yep.
like
Movies, I'm sure.
we're actually pretty in terms of movies. Like we're
Okay,
pretty much
I
in
like it.
agreement there. But one thing that Jake always gives me a ton of flack for is I'm just like, I went to college for software engineering. That's what I got my bachelor's in.
Oh,
in,
wow.
In computer science, and it's just a completely different field from wedding videography, right? And that's
Yeah.
a whole different story how I got tangled up with this. But I'm very much a believer of like the flow zone. I'm very much a believer of like deep work, distraction-free environments, and like limiting screen time, like having a healthy relationship and boundaries with screen time, making sure you're like planning it in, using it in the correct ways. And in a way that's kind of been detrimental to me sometimes, because in thinking so much about it, I'm actually like not working. I'm not doing things because I'm like trying to make sure everything's perfect and like analyzing everything. And then Jake will be over here like, and he'll edit together like a full film, like a full YouTube video, create like 10 digital assets, all while he's like scrolling TikTok. And I'm just like, dude, how did you just do that? Like, I don't get it. If I
It's
tried to
amazing.
do that, I would never do anything. So
Yeah.
we have kind of like our you know, banter there, but I totally agree. I think that
Interesting.
being bored is just one of those things that we had as kids. And when you look at kids, when you watch kids, they're just so creative. And in this space where we're mainly a creative space and where it's so easy to just blend in with the crowd, where everyone's using the same music, they're using the same, you know, same looking footage, same styles, you kind of need whatever you can to set yourself apart in terms of creativity. And I think that's very hard to get if you don't purposefully plan some time to be bored. Literally just nothing around you. Just sit in a room if you need to. I've
Yep.
done that before, and it was honestly a great experience.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like, you know, Picasso said, I dream my painting and then I paint my dream.
Dang,
2 steps.
I like that.
So you're kind of saying like, I'm dreaming about the painting, right? And Nate is like, I'm painting my dream,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But, and I definitely lean towards paint, like or how I would probably say it is you dream and then you multiply. It's kind
Is
of
that
like
how you
what,
got it? Is that how you got Multiply Media? Where'd that come from?
Multiply Media has just been a word that it's just been around my entire life.
Yeah.
I'm a multiplier. I
like
multiply things. I multiply people. I multiply ideas. I multiply relationships. It's just who I am. And
I like that.
and so, but a very important first step is to dream, right? And to be bored and to gain vision, you know, for your life. You can't just be multiplying or doing without the vision that you have, right? If you're just running without not understanding what the vision is for your life or what the dream is for your life, then you'll burn out really easily. And you can't just live in dream world, you know? It's like you have to have two. I dream my painting, then I paint my dream, and then repeat, you know?
Dude, I love that. Are you a reader?
I am a reader. Yeah.
Okay.
At least I try to be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I found that like
Big
most people-
audiobook guy.
Yeah. I find that like most people who, you know, kind of think the same way, like being bored, like going to the beach, spending time like away from phones and stuff, they're usually into books. What's your favorite audiobook?
Well, the book that I have been reading for a while now, just on repeat, is Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. If you love the Creative Act, you'll probably love this one. Okay. It's essentially a workbook of how to live a creative life. It also comes with a workbook. It's a 12-week program. It's called, you sign a contract with yourself. You go on, there's basically two main elements that you have to do. One's called Morning Pages, which is essentially journaling, but it's like her interpretation of it. And it's really important that, the second that you wake up, you have to start pen to paper. And the only rule is you can't stop writing. Yeah. So the whole idea is you're kind of between consciousness of sleeping and then waking up. And so you do that every day, and you have to write 2 to 3 pages. And then the second kind of rule is what they call an artist date. It's so cheesy. I love that this is a wedding filmmaking podcast and we're talking about this.
I love it, dude. I love it.
But yeah, you basically like your artist is like a child, basically, kind of like you were saying how children are incredibly creative. Think of like your artist as a kid. It thinks like a kid. It talks like a kid. It just wants to play. And so you set aside time for play, essentially, of a night or a time or an entire day, whatever you can, an hour, but really good exercises. I think my problem with books sometimes is the interpretation of the book, of what it could mean. But workbooks I really love because it's just like, do this. I'm like, okay,
Dude, I've never done a workbook. The Artist's Way by Julia
Cameron. And what's cool about it is she wrote it in like the 90s or 80s or something like that. And she's it's just a timeless book, Yeah. Those books, those types of art that just stand the test of time. It's not some trend. This has been a bestseller for decades, and so it's going to be timeless, So this is going to be my 3rd time going through this book.
Really?
Yeah. Do it. It's insane.
Yeah, it sounds like you're very tapped into your creative brain. I think a lot of people experience burnout and they need to like find things to do to like refresh and get the creative juices flowing again. But it sounds like you're doing like daily maintenance on creativity. It sounds like.
I mean, I try. I'm not perfect at all, but to me it's my whole life. I think we are all creators, and so we just create things, so
I love
it. What do you do for kind of like creative rehab is what they call it in the book, creative
rehab.
Yeah.
For me, I always got a kick out of people when they I'm not like making fun of them, but like I always get a kick out of people when they're like, they go on social media to announce they're doing a social media fast. Like they're just getting off social media. And I get it. If you have a business, it is important to like let people know if you're really tied to your social media presence that, you're not going to be there. That I can see that being an important thing. But, I mean, in my opinion, you could just put in your bio, like out of office till something evenly. Yeah. So I always got a kick from people saying, I'm off social media for 30 days, 60 days, whatever. Text me or call me or whatever. Instead, what I do is just like, if I am doing a social media fast, I'll just get rid of it. I won't tell anyone. of course, that was before I was really like tangled in like business and social media. And I would just do like a book fast. I wouldn't go back on social media until I completed a book. And usually by that time, I'm not a crazy fast reader, mainly just because I get distracted. And so I'll pick up one book and I'll pick up 3 other ones and just like make snail incremental pace through all of them. And then I'll finish 4 books within like 2 days of each other. But yeah, so I would just get on social media and just focus on reading one book. And I couldn't get on social media until I was done. And usually the amount of time it took me for that was, you know, at the minimum, like a week. That's usually what I aimed for. So by that time, I've kind of forced myself to be bored. And yeah, during that time, I'd also try to limit my screen time as well. So instead of turning on Netflix, I would be, you know, reading my book at night. And just getting in that process, I found out that it led to one activity that, like, I feel like I'm 28 years old right now. And I feel like these past 4 years, I've really kind of like honed in my way of working. For a long time, I was trying to fight my, you know, ADHD. Everyone has ADHD now, you know, but I would like try to fight it. And now I've kind of like leaned into it. In fact, my response to this question is my ADHD. I'm all over the place. I don't know what I'm saying.
Sure.
But by stepping back from social media, reading books, it led me to going on more walks outside. And I realized that when I go on walks, I think better when I pace. So I only do calls, if possible, when I'm walking. I go outside in the morning and I walk. I've had some of my best ideas while I was just walking outside. And I just like start reciting things in my head. People probably think I'm crazy because I'm like talking to myself.
I do the same thing.
Dude, I just like, I know myself best. And when I kind of like tap back into, you know, understanding my own thoughts, understanding my own desires, getting away from screens, and just cheesy to say, but getting more in tune with myself, I just do my best work. I like reinvigorate myself and I'm more creative. My work ethic kind of comes back. So long-winded answer to say, I get off social media and I read a book, and during that time I go on lots more walks. I just get outside, and walking just gets my blood pumping and the thoughts going, and those get all my ideas going.
I love that, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really important.
Yeah. Just get outside, touch some grass.
Yeah.
Get some sunshine. Go to the beach.
Yeah. I mean, that's an artist date, you know, that's what, I think it's important to understand the environment that you thrive in, you know, and that, for me, it's like any type of like rushing water, you know, like the ocean, rain, like the shower even, you know, like any type of, we're all built differently. And so understanding what it means and where you need a little reset and what type of quiet you're walking into is super important.
Yeah.
And I think there's power in that too. Cody was talking to me about there's power in walking away from something. Like there was, I think it was like 10 things that powerful people do. I'm gonna absolutely butcher this, but he was and one of them was just like disappearing and not saying why, and coming back when, you know, it's kind of like Frank Ocean, you know, or John Bellion, like they just disappear, you know, and it makes almost more of a mystery of what that person, what that leader is, you know, of not just constantly being around, you know. So I think there is power in disappearing.
Yeah, I feel like any successful business owner / creative that I know personally, at some point they kind of just disappeared. Like they were hard to contact, they were hard to get a hold of through text. Sometimes it was only a couple months, weeks, days. Days is too short to really judge. But yeah, months, years sometimes. But when they came back, they had this brand or this business or, you know, this thriving whatever it is. And I respect that. I like that. I think there's just power in just walking away and just in the age of where we feel like we need to be connected to everyone at all times. There's great power in just stepping back. And Jake and I, we've had to do that at Runaway Vows a couple of times too. It's just when we found out we were just trying to keep up with everybody, we just got to step back and say, what's working for us? What are we going to get rid of? kind of minimize what we're trying to do in our approach. And yeah, it's an ongoing thing, you know, creatives, you're always adapting, I'd say. So
Yeah. I love that, dude.
I really, we're working on it too. And yeah, Jake being gone for the next, I was telling you this before the call, but yeah, Jake just had his baby. And so this is kind of a time for us to realize, like, okay, if there were only one of us doing this business, what moves the needle? What do we need to focus on? What can we disappear from? And then maybe come back in the future. So thanks. Yeah, that's great for bringing that up. If you're ready, I'm feeling like I can handle the hot take now. I think,
let's do it.
I think we can hop into that. So Boomer,
Yes.
what is your hot take regarding the wedding industry?
I love this. My spicy hot take is the music, audio, and sound in your films are more important than your visuals. Boom. I can feel the gear junkies just staring me down right now.
People just furious. They just spent $9,000 on buying the new
Lutz.
Canon camera. Yeah. Okay. So we a lot of people that came to Runway Vows as part of our audience, they know a full-time filmmaker, they know Parker, and Parker always taught that audio is half the viewing experience, but you're saying audio is more than half. It is most of the experience.
Okay, yeah, let's break this down.
Okay.
All right. Let me start by asking a question. Why do we do what we do? What is the point of being a wedding filmmaker? I would actually love to hear from you.
Yeah.
Why do we shoot weddings for our couples? Why is it important? What's the point?
I think it just depends. It depends. I see wedding filmmakers in two camps. There's the one camp that are more business oriented, and they see themselves as a business owner, and they're just good at filming. And so for them, it's about money. And so they want to build a business, and they see that weddings can pay really well. Nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with either camp. And then there's the other camp, which is the creative camp. They just love filming, and they might not even know how to run a business. That's not important to them. They let the creativity come first. Money follows when/if it comes. So that's the twofold answer. I think people want to create because it genuinely is fun to do it, but there's also the money aspect of it.
Right. What would you say is important? Like, why does the couple want? Yeah, why does the couple want a wedding film?
Dude, they wanna feel the emotion of their wedding day. They want to relive it, and you can't do that with a photograph.
Yep. And they want to remember. Mm-hmm. They want to remember their day. They want to remember what happened. They want to remember the emotions. You said emotions. Super interesting. Okay, so we're talking about memory, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's super important to understand what memory is.
I see where this is going.
Do you?
Okay,
how?
I see where it's going. Are you about to pull the, your brain remembers scent and audio more than it remembers just like visuals? Is that where we're going?
We might be going there.
Okay.
There's two different types of memory, right? There's implicit memory and explicit memory. Explicit memory is very much like cold, hard facts, what you ate for breakfast, names, dates, birthdays, whatever. Implicit memory is emotional based memory, right? What you felt, how you felt something. And we have 5 different senses as well, right? As videographers, we have 2 senses to play with, right? We have a sight and we have sound. It actually turns out that our sense of sight is not as connected to our memory as our sense of touch, smell, and sound. So touch, smell, and sound is actually way more connected to our memory, especially our implicit memory, our feeling-based memory, than our sense of sight, right? And they've studied this a ton before with people from who have Alzheimer's or who have dementia, very cruel diseases that strip you away from memory, right? And there's this whole documentary, especially this one scene where this this guy just looks absolutely defeated, and right in front of him is his daughter, right? And he doesn't even recognize who his daughter is through seeing. But then, and he just looks defeated. He can't form a sentence at all. And the doctor puts headphones on, plays music from his life, like special songs that he would know and recognize. And you just see like the life go back into this dude. And his eyes get real big. He starts dancing. He starts singing. He's jamming out for like 10 minutes, you know, songs on repeat. They take the headphones off. They ask him about his life. He recognizes his daughter. He's able to, you know, talk about his past. They ask him, you know, what his some of his favorite memories are. He's able to answer in complete sentences, right? And so I think there is, you know, what's funny is I would actually agree. Like it's half and half, you know, but it's a hot take. You know, you got to pick a side. I think visuals are equally as important, but maybe I lean towards music and sound as much as I am to hopefully help people understand the importance of what we're dealing with here. This is like a very like spiritual, emotional thing of music and sound that we don't really understand, that kind of like cuts through logic and goes straight to emotion, which we implicit memory, which we do want to trigger. And it actually turns out that Alzheimer's and dementia hit explicit memory way before it hits the implicit feeling-based memory. And so if our point as wedding videographers is to help our couples remember their day, remember not just what happened, but the emotions of the day, I would argue that music and sound is extremely, extremely important.
Yeah, Boomer, that was not a hot take. That was a scientifically backed thesis statement right there.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I would probably, you know, Boomer, you know, off the kitchen would be like, yeah, it's equally as important. Yeah. But Boomer on the kitchen is like, double down.
Double down.
You know what I mean?
Way more important. No, dude, that's fascinating. Yeah, I wish I could push back, but I'm totally in agreement here. I totally agree with that. I was, while you were telling that story, the Alzheimer's, I was thinking back to my wife and I's wedding video, and Jake and my other buddy Dallin filmed it. Well, I guess this is our bridal video. We went out to Davenport, kind of San Fran area, and we spent kind of the weekend hanging out on the cliffs, and Jake ended up editing it together, and it turned out to be like a 20-minute film. And I'm like, dang, how did you squeeze 20 minutes out of that? And it's because he used so much audio. Like, he used all of our vows. He used the audio of when we were walking through Ghirardelli Square. There was this guy sitting there, and this was 2021. So San Fran was recovering from COVID, but it was still pretty bare. And it was October, so there was no one in the streets. And there was just this one homeless dude playing the sax on the streets, and it was literally just us and him. And Dallin set his phone down and he recorded it on voice memo, and they used that sound in the edit. And it just like, it takes me back straight to that moment of us just walking around, this dude just playing the sexy sax. And it was just like everything I was thinking of while you were telling that story was related to audio, from our vows to the saxophone to when we were clinking the Coca-Cola bottles on the cliffside. Like, it really is. If that wasn't there, it'd be like, oh, this is cool. It's a highlight video. That's fun. But I would totally have forgotten everything. I would have totally forgotten the sax band, 100%. But he's like a pivotal part of that weekend, and I love that he's in there. Yeah, well, no, that's fantastic. That's
dude,
amazing.
That's awesome, man. I love that. I think all of us listening could think about a song, or maybe for me as a music guy, I think about albums that are connected to a memory, right? And like when I hear the first Fall Out Boy album, I think about my first ski trip.
Yeah.
And me and my brother just jamming out to that and being super pumped, you know.
Yeah.
When I think about man, there's so many songs and so many albums. Like every time Sarah and I go on a trip, we pick an album that is on repeat, right, during their entire album. Like I remember Scaled and Icy, 21 Pilots, when we went to Iceland 2021, and I just, every time I hear that album, like I remember driving for the first time, seeing Iceland, you know, and just, yeah, and it just takes you back to the feeling, you know, and that's what you said. You said, you know, the emotion of the day, and we're talking about memory in that way. We're talking about implicit memory. So, hot take.
Hot take. I love it. What's your who's your favorite artist right now? Do you have one?
My favorite artist. I'll go right now. We've been listening to a lot of Hazlitt.
Ooh, okay. Hazlitt's great.
I would categorize him as P&W music, and just this new kind of 6 months of being here has like this nostalgic, like leaving my home for the first time, being on the beach with my wife and dog, and hearing this, you know, this falsetto, beautiful acoustic folk P&W music is probably right now.
That's actually funny you say that, because Blame the Moon by Hazlitt is like my nostalgia song. Of my wife and I, we just recently moved into a new apartment, and that was the first song I played when I was in my office and all the windows were open. It was just bare, and I just didn't have anything in there because I just didn't have stuff to move in yet. And Blame the Moon by Hazlitt came on. I was like, dang, and I just sat there and listened to it for probably 20 minutes. That's my song. Hazlitt's great. Dude.
Yeah.
I love Hazlitt.
Yeah. What about you? What would you say your favorite?
Oh man, I really like Hazlitt. There's an artist that I truly love, and I went to his concert. My wife and I went there, I believe 2 years ago, and it was just in this small bar in Salt Lake City, maybe 100 people there, and we were just 5 feet away from him, and it shocked me because he has over millions of listeners on Spotify. But his name is Emmett Fenn. You ever heard of Emmett Fenn?
No, but I want to look him up after.
Yeah, I'll send you some of his stuff on YouTube too. Like I respect him so much as an artist, and he creates like a lot of kind of those same vibes, but just like slow, soft piano, and he has a beautiful voice. But then last year he kind of transitioned to like some crazy like party house trance music, which I wasn't a big fan of, but I respected where he was going. And when we went to the concert, he played some of that. He played like his classics, and then he's like, okay, let me get funky here. And he played his new stuff. And then he's like, all right, we're just going back to basics. That whole period of my life was just, you know, getting creative. And so he's kind of dialed back to his old style. But yeah, Emmett Fenn, I love his music. It makes me emotional, like his slower stuff. So I always go back.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. I love that dude.
Yeah, if you like Hazlitt, I'll send you some of his like slower songs I think you'll really like. Please respect that dude. Well, Boomer, thank you. It's been awesome. We're coming up on that hour mark.
Yeah, dude.
Seriously, like thank you for taking time just to come and cook in the kitchen here.
Dude.
As a sous chef.
Yes, sir.
Where can people find you? Where can they follow you? What are you up to? What any products to check out? Where do people go?
Yeah, Multiply Media is our wedding videography page. Multiply Sound is kind of the page for all the sound products. Film Score Pack is kind of what makes us unique. It's musical and tonal sound effects in all 12 keys. Musical freedom in your video editing software, if that's something that you're listening to and you want to tap into music, you know, and that would be a really great start. And hopefully soon, Multiply Clothing. Come on now.
Dude, I love that. I was about to say that hoodie is great. I love that.
Thanks, dude. Yeah. Kind of the trajectory of this whole thing, I feel like Multiply is going to be kind of the father brand, and then it'll split off into probably a bunch of different categories.
Divide Media.
Divide Media.
Divide Media.
Right. Yeah. That's
Okay.
That's it.
I'll vouch for the film score pack. We use it religiously. It's amazing. You can't go wrong with it. So highly recommend
yeah.
it. In 1 year, I guess you're not too far from Salt Lake City where we're at. I just like to ask this, but if we were to cross paths in 1 year and go out to lunch somewhere, what are we going to be celebrating? What are you up to?
I love this question.
Yeah.
This is a really cool question, man. I'm a very goal-oriented person, and so I love talking about this stuff. I would say for Multiply Media, just Oregon weddings. I mean, dude, traveling is overrated.
It is. It is.
It's another hot take that I would
overrated.
say. Yeah, dude. I would just love to film Oregon weddings, and 5 to 10 weddings for next year in Oregon would make me so happy. For Multiply Sound, I would probably say I'm working on this number 2 collection of sounds, the Film Score Collection 2. I'm really excited about. I'm pouring so much energy into this, and I would love for it to come out this summer. So that, expansion packs, maybe a filmmaker endorsed, expansion pack. I would love to kind of pick, a certain filmmaker and understand their style and make a sound pack, a musical sound pack, not kind of like the noise of just a regular sound effects pack, but musical, mentorship programs, and then hopefully for the clothing, first and second launch. That would be the goal. If we could sit down and that could all be ready to go by next year, we would be stoked, man. We would be drinking some margs just religiously.
Yeah, man, you guys got a lot of stuff you're working on.
Yeah, dude. What about you? Am I allowed to ask that question?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thanks for the question. Right now, our biggest focus at Runway Vows is kind of scaling the YouTube channel and the course in conjunction. We bit off a little more than we can chew when we first launched the course. We were going to release it all last year, and we didn't hit the mark. We released like 8 of our mini courses of our 12, and we've released one since, and now we need to finish up, and we're really close to finishing up like the last 3. So yeah. I would like to assume it is going to be done by the next year. It should be done within like this summer. But by next year, we want to have we have a very aspirational goal of hitting 100,000 subs on YouTube.
Dude, wait, where are you at?
We are, as of today, we're at like 14,000.
That's awesome, man.
But we were at like 1,000 3 weeks ago, so it kind of hit this spike, and so we're just trying to build that up a little more.
Whew, jeez.
We have this podcast and our newsletter, the Runaway Club, that we're also trying to build. Those are kind of connected as well. We just got these multiple channels. We're just trying to build out and see what they can bring. As far as me personally, I guess in the next year, I just want to be in just the best shape of my life. I am late 20s. I want to be in my best shape by 30. I want to be in better shape in 30 than I was at 20. Be in better shape at 40 than I was at 30. 50 at 40. And at some point, it's going to go down. But I feel like 30 is reasonable. So maybe by next year, I'm just like, yeah, I feel great. I don't know how to measure it yet. I'm figuring that out. Dude, it's gonna be a fun year for Runway Vows, and fun year for both me and Jake, our families.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we're stoked.
Yeah, he's now a baby daddy.
Yeah. Jake's literally baby daddy now. Looks great doing
right in time for Father's Day, eh?
Right in time. I didn't even think about that. It's next week, this upcoming Sunday, right? Yeah. Dang. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
dude, that's awesome, man.
Year, man. So yeah, it's gonna be a fun year. Thank you, Boomer, for coming on. We'll point everyone listening to this to your channel as well. We love the Film Score Pack, and we'd also love to have the other half of Multiply Media, Sarah. We'd love to have her maybe come on the podcast sometime as well.
Yeah, she's some painter now. She's just painting in her office, killing it right now. So
Love it,
yeah.
dude. Well,
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man.
absolutely. Hopefully we'll be able to catch some margs in a year.
Yes, sir. I would love that.
All right. Thanks, Boomer.